We watched episode 6 of House of the Dragon, so you know what time it is. Hit that intro. Woo!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We're two dads who love all things fandom, from Star Wars to Star Trek, Marvel to DC, and Middle-earth on down to Westeros. We love it all, and we want to bring all of our insights and love of all things nerdy to you, our viewers. So if that's your glass of Westerosi wine, we're here for you, and you should definitely subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on all the amazing reviews and insight that we bring to all of our favorite fandoms. So thanks for tuning in. My name's Chris Matthews, and I'm joined, as always, by my driving buddy, Mr. Matt Parham. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm happy to be here, as always, going for a little night drive.
Night driving!
Broadcasting.
We as a fan base here on Fatherly Fandom, wish you well and hope you don't get in a wreck today. So, and before we get into this episode, I just want to give a shout out to all of our subscribers. We're a small channel, so we don't have a lot of subscribership right now. But we did just pass 30 subscribers, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed to our channel. We really do appreciate it. It helps us out, and we want to get the word out there, okay? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's get started with the show. It's episode 6, called The Princess and the Queen, directed by Miguel Sapochnik and written by Sara Hess. This episode, man, it gives us the longest time jump that we've seen so far. We move forward in the story 10 years from when Laenor and Rhaenyra's wedding took place. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was a little disoriented because I don't know about you, Chris, but some of those kids look to be a little bit older than 10, and they didn't exist in the last episode that we saw. So
yeah, well, we did have Aegon II, and his younger brother Aemond was born. We just didn't see them a lot in the show, so they didn't take center stage in the last couple of episodes. And I think Aemond was a baby. So yeah, there's that. So many new characters in this new one, and we have new characters that are coming in and that are taking the place of established characters. We have some characters returning, and then we have a plethora of new children out there that we have to sort out all these names. So we're going to help you out here today on Fatherly Fandom. We're going to help you out, try to sort out all the family so that we can move forward with this and enjoy what we're watching. Emma D'Arcy actually takes over Millie Alcott's role as Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen in this. And we jump right into the story right during labor of Rhaenyra's third child, and this scene was, brutally honest, just left everything out on Front Street, and it really does show you the reality and the difficulties of childbirth.
Up to the point of the umbilical cord being cut.
Oh my gosh. On top of all that, too, it's just like Queen Alicent, now played by Olivia Cooke, requests Rhaenyra to bring her newborn son right away, and she's walking down the corridor, the passageways there, walking up the steps, bleeding all over the castle. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So she brings her newborn son with Laenor, and Laenor actually names him Joffrey. So, and didn't really give Rhaenyra a chance to okay that. So if you were a husband out there, don't do that to your wife. Make sure you guys talk about the names that you're going to give your kids, because you will get in trouble, good sir. So Alicent and Viserys now have 3 kids together, the queen and the king. There's Prince Aegon II, the oldest, which we did see him in previous episodes as a younger kid. And we find this character doing something disgusting in his window ledge. It's just like, I was like, what is happening here? Oh, okay. So we get an impression of what this character is supposed to be like right off the bat. This actor is played by Ty Tennant, who just happens to be David Tennant's son. And you might know David Tennant from his years playing Doctor Who. So we have Doctor Who's son in the show. And then there's Princess Helena Targaryen, played by Evie Allen. Then finally, there's Prince Aemon Targaryen, played by Leo Hart. We learn Aemon doesn't have a dragon in this too, and he gets picked on a lot by his cousins and his older brother Aegon in this. And there was a little bit of foreshadowing too. I won't give anything away, won't give you some spoilers, but Helena mentions that something about one eye, so that might come up in future episodes for our viewing audience here. Then let's go on over to Rhaenyra's children. So that was Alicent and Viserys' kids. Rhaenyra now has 3 kids too, so it's 3 and 3. It very much parallels each other. All 3 of her kids seem to have dark hair, unlike Laenor or her, who is now played by Laenor is now played by John McMillan. And it's clear that this is the worst kept secret, that Rhaenyra's kids are all fathered by Harwin Strong. And like I said in the last episode, I said that, the Strongs will play a big role in the story, and look, they definitely do play a big role here. Sir Harwin Strong is played by Ryan Corr. He's the eldest son of the Hand of the King, Lord Lionel Strong. Okay, let's back to the boys. The 3 boys are Jace, Luke, and Joffrey. So Prince Jacaerys Valerian, which short for Jace in the series, is played by Leo Hart. He's the oldest and the first in line to be king after Rhaenyra. Then we have Prince Lucerys Valerian. He's the second born and played by Harvey Sadler, and so that's short for Luke. And then finally, the baby that was just born right in front of our eyes was Joffrey. So we have all 3 of those boys, all without.
I wonder who he was played by.
Hair.
We didn't get an actor credit on the baby.
Yeah, didn't get an actor credit on the baby. Next episode, they'll probably have another actor in that role, because these time jumps are just going crazy.
I do actually got to give my hats off to the baby actor there and his parents.
Yeah.
Because man, that kid really did look like a brand new baby. Like I was trying to think of the logistics of how they got a baby like that small and looking completely realistically newborn.
Right.
That is a testament to the makeup department, I guess. But even still, what kind of makeup are you allowed to put on a baby that young? I have no idea how they did that, but
maybe the baby was completely fake too. We'll have to do some more research on that. I didn't find any material on that. It could be they could have made it look realistic as well.
Well, and something like that might have happened because it was a brilliantly staged beginning to the episode, with it all being like one continuous shot to really make you feel the tension and the pressure and really the panic that Rhaenyra was feeling in that moment. And you could tell that it was pieced together from several shots, as they often do with these long takes. They'll, go behind a pillar or go behind somebody's back, and that's whenever the actual cut happens, but it's meant to look seamless. So maybe during one of those cuts, they switched out the baby for some kind of mannequin or, CGI effect of some kind. I don't know.
I don't know either, but they did a fantastic job with that whole shoot. And, bringing us back into the story after 10 years, that was jarring in itself. But during this scene, it really does set the stage up for where we're at in the story, who the main characters are, even though there's a ton of main characters right now, but we're getting that sorted out. Back to these boys. The boys in this show, both on Alicent's side and Rhaenyra's side, will play major roles in this story moving forward. And clearly now, there's definitely a major chasm between Alicent and Rhaenyra. And even when Rhaenyra proposes a marriage between Jacaerys, her son, and Helena, Alicent's daughter, Alicent politely tells her she'll think about it, but the look on her face clearly shows that, she's totally against the idea. And poor Viserys, man, he is, that leprosy is just ravaging his body. His whole arm is now gone, and he's looking the worse for wear, but he's still kicking. And he fell down in that last episode, so it was a little unclear if you didn't watch any of the stuff after the show or watch any of the previews, that if he died at that point or not. So he didn't, in fact, die. He's still kicking it, but he's a little worse for wear. We then get to check in on Daemon again, once again played by Matt Smith, who doesn't appear to age in the show at all. He must moisturize. Westeros.
I
So,
guess, yeah.
yeah. He ended up marrying Lady Lena Valerian, now played by Nana Blondell, who gave a fantastic performance of the character. We find she's pregnant, and Lena and Daemon have 2 daughters, Baela Targaryen. The oldest is played by Bethany Antonia, and Rhaena Targaryen, played by Phoebe Campbell. So again, you're getting the 3 kids throughout, 333. You have Rhaenyra that just gave birth, and then you have Alicent with her 3 kids. So I like the dynamic there between these 3 houses of Targaryen. And it's interesting, we get 2 women going into labor in this episode. And once again, the show depicts how difficult it is to give birth in Westeros. Daemon ends up facing the exact same decision as his brother Viserys, but Lena decides to take fate into her own hands as a dragon rider and tells her dragon Vagar to torture. I mean, just how badass is that? I was like, that the end is coming. It's like, I'm going to go out the way I want to go out.
I don't know if you caught the foreshadowing whenever they're flying around there, her and Daemon, and she mentions afterwards when they are offered the chance to stay at the castle that they're at visiting at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she doesn't want to. She wants to,
Yeah.
not live the life
Go
of
back home.
a fat country lord. She wants to
Yeah.
die a
She wants to
dragon
be
rider's
back in Driftmark.
death, and indeed she does.
She gets what she wants. And while we don't see a ton of Nana Blondell in this role, I found her portrayal and her character to be extremely interesting. She wanted to be a dragon rider, so she took the largest dragon. She had her eye on Daemon, so she took him as her husband, and she wanted to go out on her terms. And she did. She got everything she wanted. I'm sad we don't get to see more of this character, but it was a great performance nonetheless. So that was a shining performance for me this episode. And who do we see in this episode playing the Game of Thrones yet again? Yep, it's Larys Strong, once again played by Matthew Needham. This guy is just playing the game. So, and the newest hated person in Game of Thrones, just like Littlefinger, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what this character reminded me of, and I think is intentionally done that way. We've got, sort of Peter Baelish or Viserys combined here, and all the politicking and scheming and stuff basically falls to him. But as far as the plot, I don't know how this is sort of blackmail against the queen. I mean, all she literally has to do is just go tell anybody that this guy killed his brother and father, and that she didn't tell him to do it. Like, she's the queen. So, I mean, conversation over. So, I'm not sure what kind of power he holds over her, but clearly the writers are intending for us to feel that Alicent is now under his thumb to some degree, and
sometimes persuasion is a remarkable tool, and he's somehow able to persuade Alicent that she would be in real danger if anybody found out about this, if it got out there, if there was any whiff of any kind of conspiracy, because the whole episode, Alicent is talking about how blatant Rhaenyra's kids are Harwin Strongs and how nobody will bring that up, and she is consistently talking about what's honorable and decent and right and standing up to things. So even the whiff of being sort of corrupt in her mind is a detriment and a downfall. So maybe that's the reason why, Larys actually knows this about her, and so he knows he can use that to his advantage here. Even though, you're right, probably if he talked about this, the queen could probably just get him executed and say that it was a lie, and it would be just fine. But in Alicent's mind, she is kind of beholden to him now because of how she thinks. We see too that Larys created his own little network of murderers and thieves who aren't that talkative anymore. I don't know how that happened. So, man, that was a brutal thing to see as well. It's like, woof. But hats off to all the designers and effects artists with that, because that did look real to me, and having their tongues cut off. Then we end up with Laenor, the Strong Boys, and Rhaenyra and her crew deciding to move over to Dragonstone. And I'm going to refer to Rhaenyra's kids as the Strong Boys. That's what I'm going to call them from now on. Seeing how Alicent is positioning herself in the tension over Rhaenyra and the parentage of her children, she decided to get out of Dodge, probably for the better, too. I mean, it's probably the best decision. Things are definitely coming to a head here, and the real tension is about to start in the next few episodes for sure. We're about to get to the Dance of Dragons, and it's going to be awesome. So for my rating of the show, I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a 7 out of 10. All in all, the episode had a lot of heavy lifting, and we as an audience had to play a lot of catch up with this. It was a lot to take in, but I did enjoy the performances. I didn't find much hope in the episode, though, and hey, it's Game of Thrones, so don't expect a lot of happy endings here, right? But, I find I can get sort of depressed week after we've seen terrible people trying to plot against each other. And also being terrible parents to their kids, too. We're dads here, so it's like, oh, man.
Yeah.
These parents are dropping balls. If they were just better parents, man, they would raise better kids and have better kings and queens out there for the realm, right?
That's right.
Lesson to all those parents out there. Put in the work. Put in the work while they're
Yeah.
young. All right,
Stop dropping those balls.
Right? So what about you, Matt? What did you think? What's your rating of this episode?
Well, I think you can tell from the short video I sent you, my immediate reaction to the episode was confusion. And I got to tell you, I was worried about this episode for a long time. We knew that there was a couple of these characters that were going to be recast because of time jump. And I was wondering how that was going to work. But then as we saw some of the time jumps in previous episodes of a couple of months, then a couple of years, they weren't bad. They were working. We were kind of getting to, the parts of this story that were the most interesting. And I didn't fault the directors, the writers for that. The makeup department was handling it very well. And I think that we did see maturity in the actors' performances progress. And so it was working. But for this episode, I think that it just completely got away from the intention of the director and everybody involved, because we just had a whole lot of confusion with some actors being replaced, and then actors that really were the same age as them. I thought Sir Kristen definitely would get replaced, but he's playing
same actor.
He cut his hair a little
they just
shorter.
Changed up his
like,
hair.
Oh, okay, well, that's maturity.
They did that with Daemon Targaryen too. They had him have long hair, then they cut his hair. Now he has long hair again. And
and I just thought, I've been in a couple of stage plays myself. There are such things as, the little wrinkle lines that they put on your face. What would it have killed the makeup department just to age these people slightly? Instead of just giving them different wigs. I didn't quite understand that, especially since we see people their same age get a lot of aging makeup done.
Well, Sir Kristen and Daemon, maybe they're born with it. Or maybe it's Maybelline.
I guess so, yeah. It could be. But for me, it was jarring. It was just hard to tell, like, who's really at what age here. And then we got the discombobulation with all of the new kids that we've got to learn their names and what their problems are and who's gross. And like I said, it seemed like the kids were a lot older than 10 years old. And that's the only time gap that we had. And, 3 of them weren't even born in the last episode. Even the little girls, I thought, I've got a 10-year-old daughter myself, and they look to be older than her. So, I didn't find the time jump to be effective at all this time, or at least very well thought out in its physical portrayal on film. But then beyond that, I also thought the plotting and the scripting didn't work very well for a time jump of that size either. And you and I were talking about this a little bit before the episode. 10 years go by in my life, and I'm not sitting here thinking about the same stuff that I was 10 years ago. I have different problems, different obstacles in life. but you've got Allison
Hmm.
still stewing over the same stuff that very clearly nobody else cares about. These,
Yeah.
very clear implications about Rhaenyra sleeping with Harwin Strong is not a concern to anybody in the kingdom. Like, she's so worried about the words of her father that occurred 10 years ago, but we're well past that. We even have Rhaenyra extending an olive branch in front of the entire court
Hmm.
to reassure her that her lineage is not under threat. She has no
Yeah.
intention of like murdering Aegon or something like that. So where is the problem? What is it that Alicent is so worried about? And I
Well, it's just the society that they're living in Westeros. If she is having kids out of wedlock, those kids shouldn't be on the throne, because they're not born
mhm.
of the family. So it's kind of a traditional thing. And also, it's just all of Westeros believes that the firstborn son of a king should be ruler. So that in itself is why Allison is so hell bent on this whole thing, is because she truly believes, and a lot of Westeros believes, her son Aegon II should be king. And obviously, their relationship as friends, culminates into them
Yeah.
being harsh with each other, more judgmental as well, because there's a lot of history
Well,
behind
and
this.
that's what I wish that they would show us more of, honestly, is that if you're going to create this rift, which we know is coming
Yeah,
to lead to this giant war that will probably be somewhere around the season finale. But if you're going to create this rift, why not flesh it out?
right.
If George R. R. Martin's intention is to show us human beings, which he keeps reminding us in interviews and articles, that he wants to show
Yeah.
both the good and the bad. People are gray, not black and white. Then why not give them fully fleshed out stories instead of constantly
Right.
beating the same drum or the same horse
Hmm.
to oblivion over the course of over a decade now? It just doesn't seem
Right.
very authentic to me. Like, I don't know. It doesn't, it seems like, again, we've got a story that befits the premium cable network, HBO, and all of their grotesque glory that they continue to push on us week after week.
Yeah.
I will say this, that unlike shows like She-Hulk, where I found that they're just kind of skimming through plot points and doing things that don't make a whole lot of sense. I feel that's happening here, but at least
Hmm.
in House of the Dragon, it is never boring. I feel like they are making this show for an audience that their attention span is just growing shorter and shorter. So they're blasting through the years, getting to the major plot points, not giving us any sort of chaff to deal with. And I miss some of that chaff. I miss, like you said, the
Hmm.
performances of these actors and the character moments. Give us more of that, and quit
Yeah.
speeding through everything. And it's just getting disorienting. So, um, with all
Yeah.
of that being said, I think my rating, as it has to do with a lot of my desire for this show to be good.
Hmm.
I think that they're keeping me invested. I think that they need to slow down. So to balance that out, I'm going to try to give it a balanced rating and going with a 6 out of 10. I think it's above
6 out of 10.
average for
Hmm.
for the shows that we have on TV just in general right now. As like I said, it's still very interesting. I want to see where it all goes, even though I have a background in the novellas, which, if you notice from this week's title, The Princess and the Queen, we're now into the third novella in this whole trilogy of
Yep.
them. So we know
Hmm.
what's coming next with the war and all of that. Um, but I don't think that we have to sprint in that direction. We can take a little bit more time with it, just to get to know characters
Yeah.
before they're killed off. You know, I felt nothing for Harwin. I had no idea who his character
Mm.
was, and then he's dead. You know, and the same thing for Lena, really,
Yeah.
and then she's dead. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, why are you doing this? Same thing with Joffrey last week. It's like, well, every
Uh-huh.
week we're just going to have the death of one of these red shirts,
We
and I
yeah
guess that's what
we
we're
we
getting.
introduce a awesome character and then they die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately. So, you know, Game of
Immediately.
Thrones is known for
This is Game of
a little bit of
Thrones.
that dynamic, but what I think made the first 4 or 5 seasons of that show great was that, yes, that stuff happened, but it was sporadic. You didn't expect it every week.
It was a slow burn too on
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Like we had a whole season to build up with very intricate plot details as we were going along. There wasn't this change in time or lightning speed storyline that we're getting
Right.
with this. But I believe like for this show, we're gonna see different ages of the House of
Mm-hmm.
Targaryen. So I kind of think that in season 2, we're not gonna have any of these actors, maybe a
Yeah.
couple of the characters that are older, but it's going to be a whole new set of actors and characters that we're going to be
Mm.
exposed to as we go through the lines of Targaryen. I think that is probably what they're aiming at this
Yeah,
point.
and I felt like a show that did that pretty well, that came out a while ago. I can't remember exactly when, but a show called Taken, produced by Steven
Mm-hmm.
Spielberg. It was a generational story about alien abduction and its effects
Oh,
on multiple
yeah.
generations of different families throughout, you know, the sort
Mm-hmm.
of mid-century to
Years,
the end of the
decades.
century in America.
It was from Roswell up to the present and everything. That was such a cool
Yeah, and I
show.
thought that they did a great job of showing the age progression of the different actors that were involved. And they could definitely
Mm-hmm.
do that here. I'd be very interested in a multi generational Game of Thrones story. But at the same time, if it's just going to involve a whole bunch of death of different characters that we don't even know, then why include those
Yeah.
story beats? You know, why not just kind of streamline it or stick to a few characters
Mm.
and their effects on the next
Well,
generation. So, I don't know.
yeah, we talk about this with other shows, but it's that fine line of sticking to and adhering to what's written in the books, where or veering away from that for what works for
Right.
shows as well. And that is a fine line that these writers have to walk, have to juggle all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff in order to be entertaining, but at the same time appeasing the
Yeah.
fan base and making sure you're sticking to the book. So that's why we're getting a lot of these characters in here, and that's why we have a lot of these situations happening because not a lot of people die of old age in Westeros. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Viserys might be the first one, which I guess he's technically dying of
Yeah.
leprosy, but he's taking his
Oh man.
sweet time doing it. We will see how it all unfolds and if we're going to get more
Yeah.
time jumps and if we're going to get a new cast
Jump.
next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, still want to see where it all goes. So yeah, we'll find out next week.
We will find out next week, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode today, and we hope you subscribe to our channel. As always, that really helps us out here. And if you want, give us a like for this episode and check out all our other content. We have episodes on She-Hulk. We have episodes on Rings of Power, Andor, which is premiering again tonight for episode 4. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's the second week, and we're already to episode
Episode
4. It's
4.
awesome. Yeah, awesome deal. So we have all those fun shows coming up, plus movie reviews. We're having a lot of fun here on Fatherly Fandom. So thanks for joining us, and from our families to yours,
Have a good one.
adios.